Hey guys, it's Tim and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited as we are here on the 30th of October, the night before Halloween, to talk about everything that went down tonight on AEW Dynamite. Tonight's AEW Dynamite did come to us from Charleston, West Virginia, and I thought it was an okay show. I didn't think it was a great show. I didn't think there was much, blow away on this show to be like, oh my god, if you missed it, really go check it out. I haven't really seen much of NXT, so we're not talking NXT tonight. I am going to make a quick comparison. If you didn't see my tweet as far as my son goes about AEW and NXT, I'm going to talk about that at the very end of this after I do run down AEW Dynamite, because it's actually pretty interesting to me. But tonight, just talking AEW, there may not be an NXT full review this week because of tomorrow and Halloween and Crown Jewel and all that jazz. So we'll figure that all out. But let's see who's here with us in the live chat. For some reason, looks like YouTube didn't send out the early notification because there's usually a number of you guys in the live chat before I get going. Got Alexis Cavallo, Nelson, Woken King Slender, Jeff Guevara, Daniel Mulenex, and T-Life. So again, like I said, a decent by-the-books episode of AEW Dynamite. So the show kicked off with a recap of what happened last week. Well, actually, I digress. There was stuff before that. So they showed the opening with Tony Schiavone, Cody, and Dustin. And Dustin, I want to go find the tweet really fast because Dustin may have ruined this entire show long or half show segment last night. Because they made this all seem like Cody showed up late because he can show up late because he's the star and da-da-da-da-da. But I want to find, before I get into this, Dustin Rhodes. Why can't I find it? Dustin Rhodes. His Twitter. Just for a second. So, as we look for this, give me 1 second, guys. He may have deleted the tweet. So he deleted the tweet. So tonight's show starts off where Tony Schiavone is greeting Cody and Dustin as they arrive, quote unquote, via private airplane in Charleston. Well, yesterday, Cody was in Charleston doing media before tonight's show. He then apparently flew to Austin in a private jet to pick up Dustin. And Dustin posted on his Twitter that Cody flew from Charleston to Austin to come pick him up for the show and then back to Charleston. And he posted a picture, and I believe Tony Schiavone was in the picture. And it was basically of what they shot tonight, or showed tonight. It was actually shot yesterday. Dustin kind of ruined it. I guess Dustin took the tweet down, and then he posted a new picture today, 3 hours ago, talking about how he's excited to fly to Charleston with his brother tonight. Cool. So, they get to Charleston. Dustin told Cody that he loved him, and that he would see him at the building. And when the picture that Dustin posted last night was of him hugging Cody before Cody goes off. So Tony Schiavone that is, got in the limo to drive to the building. And this is basically a complete rip-off spoof from Starrcade, I think 93, with Mean Gene Okerlund and Ric Flair. And the reason I don't have an issue with the Mean Gene Ric Flair version of this, and I do have an issue with the Tony Schiavone Cody version of this, is because Tony Schiavone should not be riding to the arena, chit-chatting, telling old stories, chumming it up with the talent. He's a commentator. He should be impartial. The reason I didn't have an issue with the whole Ric Flair Mean Gene one is because Mean Gene was just a backstage interviewer. He asked a couple questions, bada boom, you're done. You don't have to be, Tony Schiavone should be impartial. We shouldn't know that Tony and Jim and all these other people have connections to Cody. They've been around Cody his whole life. It's like, you don't want to go in to Full Gear and have the announcers just going, man, I've known Cody his whole life. Cody should win this match. I want to see Cody the champion. Screw Chris Jericho. It's like, no, we don't want to see that. Excuse me, can't get rid of this cough. And it's just like, commentary, guys, just stick to commentary. I get it. Tony Schiavone also does some of the interviewing on the side of the stage. Cool. But first and foremost, he's a commentary guy. He's an announcer. He needs to stay impartial. And that's the one thing I didn't like about this, is it showed that he's not impartial. So after this, they recapped the post-show angle from last week, where Jon Moxley and Pac went to a time limit draw. Moxley then DDT'd the referee. Omega first came out. Then Pac came. No. What was it? Oh man, I'm blanking right now. Pac was challenged by Hangman for Full Gear. Then they show Jon Moxley going backstage, throwing stuff, just pissed off about the time limit draw. And he goes into Tony Khan's office. And I really, really liked this, because it tells us finally that there is an overseeing boss, overseeing everything in All Elite Wrestling, that makes the final decision, that is in charge, that makes the rules. And he told Jon Moxley, the match you will have with Kenny Omega come Full Gear will not count on the win-loss record. It is unsanctioned. It is a lights-out match. And Moxley gets livid. He goes, oh, you're just doing this because Kenny's your boy, and when I beat him, you don't want it to hurt his record. I get what you're doing here because he's your boy. All you suits always wanted to just hold me down and put me in a box and think you know what I really am. I like this for a couple reasons. A lot of people, especially since he left WWE, have said, oh, Moxley's cool. He's the hardcore guy. And at the same time, we did learn that there is somebody other than Cody, the Bucks, and Omega running this company. We may not see this man, but we know that this man is the law. So I really liked that. Excuse me. So the show opens up, and we got Hangman Page against Sammy Guevara. Page hits some chops early, then a boot to the chest. Page used a vertical suplex, only got a 1. Guevara came back with a leapfrog dropkick, and then hit his own vertical suplex for another 1 fall. Or 1 count, whatever you want to call it. Page then hit palm strikes and a follow-away slam. Guevara pulled Page's leg out from under him, and Page crashed against the apron. Guevara then sent Page into the barricade. Back inside the ring, Guevara teased the top rope move, but jumped off and just slapped Page in the head. I really loved this. It was like, oh yeah, I can hit a shooting star or a 450 or whatever off the top rope. Nah, never mind. I'll slap you instead. Great heel move. Great heel move. Guevara then hits a super kick that Page no-sells. Page then hits a lariat and both men go down. Page then teased a deadeye on the apron, but Guevara blocked it. Page then hit a sidewalk slam on the apron. Page then used a powerbomb for a near fall. Guevara rolled to the outside here. Page hit a moonsault off the post. Then Guevara, and then threw Guevara back inside. Page teased a buckshot lariat, but Guevara stepped away. They traded strikes here for a moment until Guevara sent Page up and over the top, but Page landed on his feet on the apron. This then set up for Paige hitting the buckshot lariat and picking up the victory over Sammy Guevara. Paige then cut a promo after the match. He said that things haven't gone very well for him lately, but tonight felt really good. He promised to do some real cowboy shit at Full Gear and take Pac's head off. We then got a commercial break where they did the side-by-side, and I basically looked like they saw Rock and Roll Express meeting with Private Party. So then we got a women's match. Shanna taking on Hikaru Shida. I think this match may have gone a little too long, to be honest. Traded wrist locks. Shanna worked over the left arm and hit a neck breaker. Shanna sent Shida outside and teased a dive, but Shida jumped on the apron and cut her off. Shida set up a chair on the floor. She used it as a launch pad and hit a jumping knee strike. Back inside the ring, Shida hit a backbreaker for a 1. Shida hit a running knee in the corner. Shida hit some more knee strikes. Shida teased a brainbuster, but Shanna blocked it and then pulled Shida in for an inside cradle. Only got a 2. During a commercial break, they exchanged some Hurricane Ranas. Shanna used an Angel's Wing. Only got a 2. Shanna climbed to the top. Or Shanna. I'm going to call her Shanna. But Hikaru Shida cut her off. Shida went for a superplex, but Shanna fought her off. She then hit a double stomp. Only got a 2. She then tried another Angel's Wings, but Shida blocked it. She hit a spike pile driver. Shanna rolled to the apron. Hikaru Shida suplexed her back into the ring. Shanna then countered a knee strike and used a cradle for a 2. Shida then hit a jumping knee strike. Falcon Arrow, only got a near fall. Shida then hit another running knee strike. This time, it was just enough for Hikaru Shida to pick up the victory. Very solid match here. Hikaru Shida is great. I just think it went maybe a few minutes too long. Cut 2 minutes off the end, and this match would have been probably, as good as any of the other matches we saw tonight. So then we got a really, really weird video package of Brandy. She showed off staring at some photos of Britt Baker, Riho, I think Nyla Rose, in like a jewelry box looking thing. Then she was summoning Awesome Kong using tea candles. Kong used a meat cleaver to chop up some hair extensions. Brandy's eyes glowed red. We saw a lot of voodoo skulls. And now I think Brandy's a freaking witch. Brandy is a witch. What the fuck was this? Is Brandy freaking Rhodes a witch? Is she going to be summoning Awesome Kong and others? Is she going to summon the dead? I get this was their quote-unquote Halloween episode or night before Halloween episode. But what the hell? Either Brandy's a witch or a witch has her possessed. Who's the witch? Brandy or somebody else? Is it Kong? Or is Kong just her? I don't fucking know. I've not liked this whole Kong-Brandy dynamic for 2 things. When Brandy is by herself or with Kong, she's a heel. But when she's with Cody, she's the biggest baby face there is alongside Cody. And I don't like that. I don't like one character being both a babyface and a heel. Being just a dastardly, I don't give a shit about anything heel. But then on the other hand, on the same show needs you be like at Double or Nothing, everybody loves me, I love everybody babyface. Because that's kind of what Brandy did at Double or Nothing. When the Elite came out at the beginning of the show and they were all, touting everything. Cool. But then when she brings Kong out and we find out she's a heel, no, not cool. Brandy, what the fuck is going on? I don't like this at all. I don't like Brandy's bipolarness here on AEW. Pick a frickin' side. Are you babyface of all babyfaces with your husband? Or are you a magical wizarding witch needing to go to Hogwarts with Awesome Kong? Is she going to... When are they going to freaking New Orleans. Because that's what it reminded me of. The freaking bad guy in, what's that movie? Princess and the Frog. Him doing his voodoo and stuff. That's what it reminded me of. So, Brandy, pick a side, please. The Rock and Roll Express thing came out on the stage. They had the AEW tag team titles. Ricky Morton said it was great to be back in West Virginia. Robert Gibson started to cut a promo, but then they were attacked by Santana and Ortiz. Santana and Ortiz beat them up. They hit him with some loaded socks. And they even powerbombed Ricky Morton through a section of the stage. Young Bucks ran out to make the save, and Santana and Ortiz ran off before anything else could happen. So then we get another shot. Well, actually, first, we see 3 guys in the ring, and the announcers tell us we're going to get 6-man tag team action up next. And then all of a sudden, it cuts to Cody and Tony riding in the limo, telling all these stories about Dusty and Willie Nelson, and Dusty being naked and saying, so I want to retell this story because this is actually interesting, funny. So I forget where Tony Schiavone said they were, but Tony Schiavone was waiting at some hotel poolside. They were going to do something with Willie Nelson. And Willie Nelson shows up and asks Tony Schiavone, hey, are you ready? He goes, yeah, let me go get Dusty. So he goes to Dusty's hotel room, knocks on the door. Dusty opens. He said Dusty was naked. Cody laughs and goes, typical Dusty. Dusty then asks, is Willie there? Is he ready? And he says, yes, we're waiting on you. And Dusty tells him, this is a lesson for you. The star always shows up last. Basically, it was Tony telling Cody, Jericho's at the building. He's ready for this contract signing, but you're the star. You can show up when you want to. He has to wait on you. But that whole story, it just so sounded Dusty Rhodes. It was basically, I can picture Dusty just looking right at Tony Schiavone's face and going, Tony, this is a lesson for you. The star always shows up last, baby. I mean, I can just picture Dusty saying that. Cody then, excuse me. Cody then said his mom will be at Full Gear, and he wants to impress her. Tony encouraged Cody to use that emotion and make that his positive vibes to form his family and beat Chris Jericho. Okay. Again, Tony Schiavone also talked about Cody being one of the greatest amateur wrestlers in the state of Georgia, watching him win national championships and all this. It's cool when DDP does it, because DDP is not supposed to be impartial. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I didn't like it with Tony Schiavone. Especially when he was coming out there later to moderate the goddamn thing. So then we got the best friends in Orange Cassidy dressed as Rick and Morty, taking on John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and QT Marshall. And my first thought was, so QT Marshall worked as a heel on Dark, and then he worked as a heel on Dynamite. But why? He's a Cody guy. If you've ever watched Road to All Out, or Road to anything in AEW, Road 2, he's a Cody guy. The fans should like QT Marshall. But I guess he wants to be a heel, or they want him as a heel. I don't get it. So, Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor were dressed as Rick, and Trent was dressed as Morty. Trent lost his wig, which allowed the jobbers to get the heat. Orange Cassidy entered with his hands in his pockets, did his trademark slow kicks, hit a tope suicida with his hands in his pockets. Trent then, excuse me guys, I apologize. Trent then pinned the Silver after Taylor and Trent hit the Storm Zero. We then got the contract signing between Jericho and Cody, and I thought this was actually really, really well done. So Cody signs really quick. Yeah, let's get this going. Biggest match of my career. Jericho then teased flipping the table over. But he said this is too important to resort to such tactics. He said that this was the most important match of Cody's life. He would either win and become the world champion just like he's always wanted, or he'd lose and prove that he's not as good as he thinks he is. Jericho then healed up the crowd. He grabbed the pen, stuck it up high in the air, and quick clicked it just like he used to do in WWE when he put somebody on the list, popped the crowd slightly. I liked this crowd tonight because with Jericho, they almost wanted to cheer him, but they knew they shouldn't, and you can tell that. Jericho then offered Cody a handshake. Cody accepted, and then teased an attack. Jericho said before Cody did something stupid, he may want to see if he is needed elsewhere. Video then played on the screen. Sammy Guevara. He's like, are we going? We're rolling? We're good? And he's like, you might want to see this. And it was Dustin fighting Jake Hager. Jake Hager got the best of Dustin and beat him down. Hit him with a low blow, slammed him against the limo, and then slammed his hand. I think it was his hand or his arm or something. It was either, I don't know if it was exactly his hand or just his, I don't know if it was just his hand or his hand and his arm, but he slammed it into the door of the limo, and Cody goes running off. Cody runs to the back to save him. MJF shows up back there, starts yelling that we need medics. Jericho shows up back there. He said Cody might want to take Dustin to the hospital. Jericho then cheerfully wished him a happy Halloween as he was wearing a purple blazer with pumpkins on it. And then he got into a limo and drove off with his cronies, the Inner Circle. I thought this whole thing, from start to finish, beginning of contract signing to the end in the parking lot, was just great. So then we got 6-man tag team action with the Elite, taking on Kip Sabian and the Hybrid 2. And before anybody came out, before Kenny came out, a very interesting video game themed video played. It basically talked about your best friends may have never been your friends. They may have never had your back all along. And it shows a silhouette of Kota Ibushi holding the G1 trophy. And he disintegrates away. When it says, basically, they may never have been there for you at all or whatever. A lot of New Japan imagery here. There was a logo that was yellow and red. There was a line about New Japan Lions. It showed Riho, the Bucks, and Nakazawa. They all disintegrated away. Very, very interesting here. I don't know what this is symbolizing, but very interesting. So they all came. The Elite all came out dressed as video game characters. Sabian and the Hybrid 2 attacked them at the opening bell, sending the Bucks to the floor. Omega made a comeback with a basement dropkick and a double Kotaro Crusher on Evans and Angelico. Evans was on fire tonight. Like, Jack Evans was the man tonight. He hit a Sasuke special and a springboard foot stomp. Sabian cut Omega off. The Bucks recovered and Matt tagged in. He was also cut off, though. He tried to go for a hot tag, but the heels cut him off and isolated him on their side of the ring. After a commercial break, the Bucks were running wild. They hit tandem moonsaults and a springboard splash on Sabian for a 2. Omega and Evans then got hot tags. Omega hit a Snapdragon suplex on Sabian, Evans, and Angelico. Omega missed a V-trigger attempt on Evans. The match then broke down and everybody went crazy. Evans hit a springboard moonsault off Matt's back to Nick on the floor. Omega hit a V-trigger on Angelico. Sabian tried a tope gongio, but all 3 Elite guys caught him and then hit him with a powerbomb on the apron. The Elite hit tandem super kicks on Evans. Omega hit a V-trigger and then hit Evans with a one-winged angel to pick up the victory. Great fun match here. Really enjoyed it. High-paced energy, but it wasn't just super high pace to where it was just high spot, high spot, high spot. There was enough slowdown that it worked. The Bucks were celebrating with two fans in Rick and Morty masks at ringside. Fans were unmasked and revealed as Santana and Ortiz. Excuse me. They pulled the Bucks over the barricade and attacked them. Omega made the save, and Santana and Ortiz once again ran in cover. So Peter Avalon and Leva Bates, the librarians, came out and did their shtick on shh. But then Jon Moxley entered through the crowd, hit Avalon with the paradigm shift, sent him away. So Moxley cut a promo in the ring. He said he's the baddest and the sickest son of a bitch in the game. He promised violence. Like the violence of the likes we have never seen before. That we haven't seen in decades at Full Gear. He said that because AEW says he's unsanctionable, Kenny Omega's blood will be on their hands. Moxley said that he's dealing with suits, teachers, cops, all kinds of people insulting him his entire life. He said that AEW can shove their win-loss record up their ass, and that anyone who doesn't like that he marches to the beat of his own drum can kiss his ass and stay out of his way. I thought it was okay. It's what you would expect from a Jon Moxley promo. Edgy, a little over the top, but just enough to pop that crowd. So then we move to the main event. It is the AEW World Tag Team Title Tournament Finals to crown the first ever All Elite Wrestling World Tag Team Champions. And I'm going to say right now, I love this match. I thought the finish would have gone the other way, but in either way, I loved the match. Kazarian and Pentagon started off the match as legal men. Traded strikes. Sky and Phoenix jumped in, and all four men brawled as the announcers were like, hey, Aubrey Edwards, referee, we got to get some kind of order in this match. And she was trying. Lucha Bros took over with some tandem offense. They sent Scorpio Sky rolling to the outside and hit a 619 into a backbreaker. Pentagon hit a Michinoku driver on Kazarian, only got a near fall. Phoenix walked along the top rope and kicked Kazarian. Sky hit a Rana on the floor, then used a monkey flip to send Kazarian into both Lucha Bros. Kazarian hit double lariats. Phoenix then hit Kazarian with a springboard arm drag. Pentagon hit a super kick on Sky on the floor. Pentagon held Kazarian on the floor. Then Phoenix hit a slingshot leg drop from the ring to the floor. After commercial break, Phoenix hit Kazarian with a drop kick for a near fall. Kazarian made his own comeback and hit Phoenix with the Angel's Wings, and then made the hot tag to Scorpio Sky. Sky sent Pentagon outside with the head scissors. Then a tope con Gio. Kazarian tried a Hurricane Rana off the top to the apron on Phoenix, but didn't get all of it, and he landed hard on his back and his neck. A little too hard. Scorpio Sky and Kazarian then hit tandem DDTs on Phoenix. Pentagon hit a Destroyer on Kazarian. Phoenix hit a pop-up cutter on Sky for a very close near fall. Pentagon powerbombed Kazarian through a table on the floor. I don't know why that wasn't a disqualification for using a table, but whatever. Phoenix then hit a splash on Pentagon's shoulders, or off of Pentagon's shoulders onto Sky, only got a 2. Pentagon grabbed Sky and sent him up for the package piledriver double stomp combo, but Kazarian jumped in and cut off Phoenix as he jumped for the stomp, and Sky pulled Pentagon in for the inside cradle, pinned him, and boom, SCU, first ever All Elite Wrestling World Tag Team Champions. I would have thought Lucha Bros win the titles. They're the over team. If it's not going to be the Bucks, Lucha Bros. But then I got to thinking after the match. They already have a male champion in Jericho. He's a heel. So maybe in putting the titles on SCU, they wanted to put the titles on some baby faces. Now, I loved the match except for the finish, and not because I thought it should have gone the other way, is because the cradle fell flat. It was very out of nowhere and unexpected. But the match as a whole I thought was great. Kazarian and Scorpio Sky celebrated as the show went off the air. And then I switched over to NXT because I knew, there was a couple minutes left in that show. And this is where something interesting happened. So my son watched all of Dynamite with me. Now, before I say anything, he's only 8 years old. And typically in those 8 years, he's only watched main roster WWE. So as far as NXT and AEW goes, the only people he actually knows and can go just at first glance, I know who that is, Jericho, Moxley, because he was a big Shield guy. My son loved the Shield. And Finn Balor. So he watches Dynamite. And he sees Jericho and says, that's Chris Jericho. Cool. He sees Moxley. And he was like, ooh, that's Dean Ambrose. And I explained to him, well, he was Dean Ambrose. We don't call him Dean Ambrose anymore. Blah, blah, blah. And he didn't do some things on Dynamite. He didn't really, go crazy for it. I switch over to NXT. And there's nobody on the screen that he knows. It is Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee. That match is going on. He sees what's going on. He starts jumping up and down, loving it, just going nuts for everything in that ring on NXT. I don't know what that says from one to the other to where he liked AEW, but never fully really got into it. I switched over to NXT, and within less than a minute, he was all for it. Loving what was going on in that ring. So I don't know if that end of that match was just that great that it caught his attention. He was just like, whoa, oh, yeah, cool, wow, wow, wow. Or there was nothing on AEW that really drew him in. Other than those two guys that he knew where he was just like, oh, that's Chris Jericho. Oh, that's that's Dean Ambrose. So I don't know what to think of that. But it was just very interesting to me that happened. So, see how it goes. That's the only thing I have seen from NXT tonight other than a few clips of them setting up the Women's War Games match. But with that, I want to say thank you to everybody who did join me here tonight to talk about AEW Dynamite. I thought overall Dynamite was a good show. I wouldn't call it great or blow away or anything like that, or even if you missed it, go check it out. Go check out the contract signing thing. But other than that, everything else was there. Well, the main event I really enjoyed as well. Other than that, everything was just catch the clips. But we'll see you again tomorrow for Crown Jewel. Crown Jewel does start the pre-show does start at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We will be doing a live post show. Not exactly sure exactly what time, because I don't know exactly what time the show is going to end. And I don't know if the show ends around 2 p.m. Pacific, I'll have to go pick up my kids and then do the, review. But if it's like 2:33, then I can do it right after. So we're going to play it by ear when we go live tomorrow. I'll let you guys know on Twitter and in the community tab. But we will be doing a live podcast at some point tomorrow after the Crown Jewel show. So with that, I want to say thank you guys for joining me here live tonight. Thank you for watching later right here on YouTube. And thank you for listening on podcast services all around the world. We'll be live sometime tomorrow after Crown Jewel. Have a good night, guys. And we'll see you later.